Hello, everyone, and welcome to Gorilla Whale, a Godzilla watch-along podcast. I am your kaiju consultant, Kevin Carpenter.
And I am just a little baby, Kayla Knutson.
And today we are going to be talking about Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla II. Not to be confused with the actual sequel to Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla, which was The Terror of Mechagodzilla. This is not a sequel to Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla, as that movie happened in the Showa era, and this is in the Heisei era, which is an entirely different continuity. Here's the deal. Let me just give a brief explanation. The Japanese release of this was just Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla. Like they made sense with their titling. There was just like, okay, we're going to use the same title as before. It's Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla. We're doing it again. Let's just give it the same title. But because of a certain movie that depicted Godzilla killing a bunch of US troops during World War II, the release of this movie in the West was a bit delayed. And then it was released a little bit afterward, in sort of like a pack with all the other movies pretty much. And then the Western markets were like, oh, what if people get confused because there was a Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla already? Let's just call it Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla 2, forgetting that there was already a sequel to that movie. Anyway, so that we're going with the Western name here, Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla 2, because I find it very funny.
Oh, God. My face journey, the entirety of this explanation, is just, you could hear Hello Darkness, My Old Friend playing in the background. I know this is an audio medium, so our listeners did not see my face journey, and many of them, if they may not even realize what I look like if they don't look at the little cartoon things. Y'all, I am tired.
My favorite thing is going on Godzilla like subreddits and forums and occasionally seeing a post of someone posting like, hey, my friends and I are thinking about watching Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla 2. Do we need to see the original in order to make sense of it? And everyone being like, actually.
Oh, God. Not the actually on the Godzilla Reddit.
So, let's get into the historical context of this. So this movie came out in 1993. We're in the yearly Godzilla release schedule for the Heisei era, and by God's is showing in the budget. So we brought back King Ghidorah. We brought back Mothra. We were gonna bring back King Kong. Didn't get the rights. Sorry, folks. Toho thought they could get away with it by doing a Godzilla versus Mechakong thing, but even Mechakong was too close to the King Kong license. Which sucks.
Yeah.
It sucks because according to some pre-production documents, they were planning on doing a Fantastic Voyage thing where Mechakong injects a ship of humans into Godzilla's body and they would have fought Godzilla's immune system, but couldn't get the rights.
What?
Yeah.
Wasn't that a movie? Osmosis Jones. They were gonna Osmosis Jones Godzilla, but with people instead of white blood cells? What?
Well, that's the thing. There was the movie Fantastic Voyage, which was, humans go into a ship and shrink themselves and go into someone's body, and they basically have to deal with their immune system. And then that got parodied in endless movies and cartoons.
Okay.
And then...
Sorry, I forgot about that. I'm only familiar with Osmosis Jones and then also Miss Frizzle, the Magic School Bus episode of that.
I would watch Magic School Bus versus Godzilla. I'd watch the hell out of that.
Yeah, Miss Frizzle could definitely pilot a mech. The Magic School Bus would just turn into a mech.
That'd be so great. But no, we couldn't get the rights. Sorry. So... here's the deal, because of Godzilla vs. Biollante, Toho still doesn't want to do like a new kaiju, so we gotta bring back some old kaiju. Who else do we have on the docket? That's right, Mechagodzilla and Rodan. We're bringing back the Pteranodon as well.
Why not?
Yeah, why not? So, Takeo Okawara, he's brought back to direct this movie. Originally, Toho was going to bring back Ishiro Honda to direct this movie, actually. But unfortunately, on February 28th, 1993, Ishiro Honda passed away.
Kevin, we're recording this on February 28th.
Oh, we are?
Today is Ishiro Honda's death anniversary.
Well, for those of you listening to it in our future and your present, we're recording this on Ishiro Honda's death
We
anniversary.
released an episode today, and I didn't even say anything about it in the social media.
Oh, man. Maybe we should get on that after the recording.
I didn't know. I wasn't ready.
So a newcomer to the franchise, film TV writer Wataru Mimura, is brought on to write the script. And Mimura is actually a Godzilla fan.
Cool.
In an interview published in Toho, SF's Special Effects Movie Series Volume 8, what a title, Mimura said, quote, "I feel like I should be asking, did I really write a Godzilla movie? The production staff has such guts. It makes me feel like, wow, I can write anything." End quote. See how easy it is? See how easy it is to have a job where you're writing for a major franchise and then you go into an interview and you say, I am excited to write for the major franchise?
Yeah.
So anyway.
You really got a bone to pick with that one guy.
Every director that is chosen to helm a major franchise and then says in public interviews, I don't like this franchise that I've been given a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to direct. Give it to me. I'll direct Batman versus Superman. I'll direct Godzilla. Anyway, on December...
I have no comment.
On December 11th, 1993, Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla releases in Japan. And on August 3rd, 1999, TriStar releases this film in America as Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla II.
Sure. Naming conventions.
One other thing about TriStar, by the way. So TriStar, in the background of all this, is trying to create their own American Godzilla film. And it's not working out. There's a lot of behind-the-scenes production, just drama. But originally, they were expecting TriStar to come out with their American Godzilla film a little after this movie was made. So there's kind of this, like, behind-the-scenes talk that this might be the last Godzilla film of the Heisei era before they hand it off to the American Godzilla film. But during production...
Yeah, wait a second. Oh, no, sorry, keep going.
But during production of this film, it became clear that the American Godzilla film from TriStar was stuck in sort of production hell. So there's kind of rumors that they backtracked on making this the last Godzilla film of the Heisei era, and that's why we get 2 more movies of Heisei Godzilla.
Wait, what's Godzilla? I thought there was a Godzilla movie that came out in 1999 that isn't this movie.
There will eventually be an American Godzilla film. Let me double check the exact year it came out.
Is it 2000 maybe?
1998. So there will be there will eventually be an American Godzilla film created by TriStar Pictures, but originally it was supposed to come out around this time. Eventually it will come out in 1998. And
so TriStar releases their Godzilla movie in 1998.
Yes.
And then they release this Godzilla movie, Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla, as Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla 2 the year after in 1999.
Correct.
Was there a Mechagodzilla in Godzilla 1998?
No.
I hate it here.
Welcome to Godzilla hell.
I am every day. This is Godzilla purgatory. It's confusing.
Well, just wait until we get to 1998 Godzilla. Cause
oh no.
Oh boy, the fandom sure loves that one.
What if I love it, Kevin? What if I love it? What if I'm a renegade?
If you love it, it will be a very interesting episode.
Okay. That's true. We can always monetize it.
But that's for the future. Right now, we are talking about Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla 2. So, anything else before I launch into the summary?
Nope.
Full speed ahead, then.
Full speed ahead.
The United Nations has established an anti-Godzilla task force known as the United Nations Godzilla Countermeasure Center, or UNGCC for short. Their symbol is the United Nations logo, but with a silhouette of Godzilla on the front, and I die laughing every time I see it. It's literally like Godzilla's arms are raised up on the logo like rah, but it's just in front of and it's in all of these serious government scenes, and they're all taking this graphic design seriously.
They were like, oh, just kind of put something together real quick as a placeholder, and then that was like a joke that the art team was doing. The art team made a joke, and it accidentally happened.
Yeah. After 2 destroyed Super X's and 4 separate Godzilla attacks, because we're paying attention to continuity now, this group needs a win. Their military branch, the G-Force, have created a flying tank jet known as Garuda, but they do not believe it will be enough to defeat Godzilla. So they have also excavated the remains of Mecha King Ghidorah and have used the Futurians' technology to create their ultimate weapon, Mechagodzilla. G-Force pilot Kazuma Aoki has been transferred from the Garuda team and assigned to intense training within the Mechagodzilla team. Aoki is a bit of a goofball with an intense fascination for pteranodons.
How convenient.
How convenient. Speaking of pteranodons, a science team goes to a remote island to investigate a pteranodon fossil, only to find both a giant egg and the giant flying kaiju Rodan. Because this island is apparently a junkyard for nuclear waste, the scientists believe Rodan has been mutated to giant size just like Godzilla. No word yet on whether this was also the Soviet Union's fault.
You don't store nuclear waste. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. There's giant flying dinosaurs. We can dispose of nuclear waste in a completely different fashion from how we understand it to be best be stored and disposed of. It's fine.
Just as the scientists are about to be eaten by Rodan, an atomic breath fires from the ocean. Godzilla is here. While the 2 kaiju duke it out, the scientists load up the giant egg on a helicopter and get the hell out of Dodge. Rodan almost buries Godzilla under a rockfall, but he once again forgets that he's an outboxer and decides to get right up in Godzilla's face. Godzilla grabs Rodan, stomps him into the ground, and then blasts him point blank with his atomic breath for good measure.
Once again, brutal kaiju fight.
So literally every time either Mothra or Rodan get right up in Godzilla's face and start pecking him and all that, they immediately get their shit kicked in.
They need different coaches. To be fair, though, this is a completely different continuity. Rodan has never fought Godzilla before.
True. Rodan needs to learn that lesson again. New timeline.
Yeah.
After hearing a giant pteranodon egg has been discovered, pilot Aoki decides to break into the institute to take pictures. There he meets researcher Azusa Gojo, and the two kinda hit it off as she kicks Aoki out of the lab.
It's kind of funny.
It is.
He did sneak in to do minor crimes, and then he's like, hey, come here often?
Aoki does also accidentally steal a plant sample from the lab as he leaves. And it's like he stops by a phone, and like calls up the researcher, and is like, hey, I accidentally stole a plant sample. And she's like, bring it back immediately. You can't do that. And he's like, sure, I'll do it later. Click.
So, it's fine.
My first watch of this movie, I thought he was like breaking into like a classified like black site because this is a pretty important discovery. But no, it's on the news. They like say like, hey, we found a giant dinosaur egg and we're just bringing it to this college.
And he's like, oh, I could get there.
And he does.
And he gets in there and then he steals a plant accidentally and tells them. And he's like, I'm not concerned, actually. It's fine. There's no rush on this.
Remember Godzilla versus Biollante, where an entire international incident happened because of like some scales from Godzilla?
I just enjoy a sense of urgency and focus in my movies. I'm so sorry that I want propulsion. What is this whole... No, I'll bring it back later. Like, if you need him to go back to the lab, then why did he ever even leave? Why did you just do this? It's fine.
No. See, the plant sample is going to come up later. It's important. We have to bring...
Why did he realize that he had it?
Why did he realize that he had it? Why did he call her back and say, like, hey, I accidentally stole this? And then when she's, like, screaming at him, bring it back right now, he's like, I'll get to it.
You like her. Why wouldn't you use the excuse to go back and talk to her? Why would you piss her off? What you like her? Why would you piss her off? It can be said to many men about many situations.
True.
To be fair, there many a time I've been like, "What is wrong with you?"
So researcher Gojo meets with Professor Ome and discusses how the giant egg is apparently changing colors over time. Professor Ome deduces that the egg turns red whenever Gojo isn't around it, and perhaps the egg thinks of Gojo as a mother figure and is scared when she isn't there.
This is ridiculous, but I'm fine with the magic Technicolor egg. The nuclear waste bothers me, but the magic Technicolor egg, I'm like, yeah, sure, whatever.
We also just had a movie where a magic Technicolor egg led to widespread destruction, so no one's learned anything.
No, it's like the Jurassic World movies.
They just keep reopening the park.
Because the Jurassic Park, they weren't trying to reopen the park in the Jurassic Park movies. The problem was that there was loose dinosaurs.
Yeah, but then they reopened it in Jurassic World, and it's the same continuity.
Yeah.
With Margaritaville.
Like, I know, but yeah, I just mean Jurassic Park 2 and 3 we're gonna reopen the park. It was Jurassic World where they're like, we're gonna reopen the park. And I, for one, love to watch dinosaurs eat tourists, so I was like, great. I would never attend. But then they anyway, learn from your mistakes. What am I talking about? We live in the real fucking world. Every day I repeat the Torment Nexus.
Meanwhile, Pilot Aoki shows off his stolen plant sample to fellow G-Force member and psychic Miki. Miki's back!
Will she affect the plot this time? Or will she come in for 5 minutes, collect her paycheck, and skedaddle? Who is to say?
Stay tuned. As we've established in Godzilla vs. Biollante, Miki can talk to plants, and she feels a strange energy from the plant sample. See, that's why he had to steal the plant sample for the plot, to get Miki in here, even though she already has the anti-Godzilla job. Anyway.
Oh yeah, what did she...
The two take the plant sample over to the Psychic Institute, where they have psychic children form a circle around it and produce a strange music. The psychic children sing the music, and it totally doesn't sound like a full adult operatic choir being played over a group of children's unmoving open mouths.
This scene happened, and I'm just like, oh, Japan and your psychic children. We all have our little... Every culture has I just think it's neat little thing, and this is apparently... psychic children is apparently a huge thing in Japan, and I find it charming.
I just think it's neat that they established that Japan has an official Psychic Children Institute, like full Xavier Academy, and then they didn't forget that they had that.
I say this, but I guess we do have psychic children in the US, because there's Matilda and 11 from Stranger Things. It's very much about a lot of psychic children stuff, so it's not exclusive to Japan. But I think our psychic children, it tends to be a little bit more hush-hush, whereas this Psychic Institute, I got the feeling it's kind of like, you can get your kid into a good Psychic Institute, then they could get a good job and they advertise or something, like it didn't feel top secret government facility.
Oh, especially after Godzilla vs. Biollante, like government officials are like, hang on, we're having like psychics with this mission, like they're helping us out. Man, the future.
I wonder if some psychics are better than other psychics at it.
Probably. I think that's true of anything.
Do you think that there's psychic slackers and their parents are like, you could reach your full potential, but you use your psychic powers for stupid shit, like ordering chicken nuggets or something?
I think it's interesting that we don't see any psychic adults. It's only children.
Except Miki.
And even then, Miki was
needs
like...
job security.
Miki was a child in Biollante, and we've been able to see her grow into a young woman. But
maybe most people lose their psychic abilities when they get older.
Oh.
They fade, perhaps. Because that's like a theory when you look at, the paranormal investigation community and stuff like that. there is, I think, a popular theory that children can see ghosts, but like that fate, like the ability to see through the veil or whatever fades as you get older. I think that's like a common held belief. I don't know much about. I'm not a member of the paranormal investigation community necessarily. I just occasionally will watch a documentary here or there.
I could see it being like learning a new language where it's easier to do it when you're really young and like those connections in your brain are still incredibly fresh. So it's like if you stretch the psychic powers muscle when you're a child, it's a lot easier to build up that skill than when you're an adult.
Yeah, use it or lose it kind of a thing.
I mean, the other implications is that it's a lot easier to get a bunch of psychic children in an institute and use them for free help against
child
Godzilla.
labor.
Yeah, child labor.
It's child labor. They're underpaying the child psychics. Adult psychics have unionized, and these children are they're scabs. They're strike breakers.
So
Miki, what is your thoughts on the psychic union's current strike negotiations with the United Nations Godzilla? What's it called? Hold on. The United Nations Godzilla Countermeasure Center. Miki's gonna be like, government employees aren't allowed to strike. This is wrong. People are in danger.
And by the way, just a heads up, in the future, I'm just going to refer to these people as G-Force. I know it's technically like the military branch, and like the United Nations organization was formed as of this movie, but we saw G-Force in Godzilla vs. Biollante. So it kind of makes me think that G-Force was a Japanese military branch, and then it got absorbed into the greater United Nations Godzilla countermeasure, whatever the last C is.
I don't know enough about geopolitics and how it would be affected by the existence of kaiju, but seems correct.
That's my favorite thing about these kaiju movies that actually have a continuity, having to reckon with how the world reacts to the knowledge of kaiju.
Yeah.
But it is pretty interesting. Another thing, actually, if we don't mind further pausing the summary here.
Why not? It's our podcast.
Fair enough. It's really interesting that this is a United Nations organization, because Return of Godzilla and Godzilla vs. Biollante, it was very much a like, this is Japan's problem. And Godzilla vs. Biollante, you had like America and the Soviet Union being like, let us launch a nuke at Godzilla. Let us launch a nuke at Godzilla. Or actually, no, that was more Return of Godzilla than Godzilla vs. Biollante. But even then, it was very much like Godzilla is a Japanese problem. And then after a few more attacks, now there's a global presence of this is a problem that's going to have to get taken care of at some point.
Listen, we live, as much as some people don't want to acknowledge it, we live in a global society. Things that happen on the other side of the world affect you, even if you don't realize it right away. Sickness and disease running rampant, unchecked in some parts of the world, can affect seemingly healthy other parts of the world. Like, that's how pandemics happen. You know, it's just, like, everything is connected. So it makes a lot of sense that they eventually would get off their ass and be like, okay, Godzilla is actually a global problem. Because, like, he's near Japan, but he could totally swim. Like, he can swim. The motherfucker can swim. He could go anywhere.
Yeah, he lives in the ocean.
Yeah.
Who's to say that he doesn't show up in China or Russia or the United States?
Yeah, I mean, what is it? It's like Watsonian versus Doyleist explanations. And the Watsonian explanation would be the canon. So it's like the Watsonian explanation of why Godzilla keeps attacking Japan. Not sure. The Doyleist explanation for why Godzilla keeps attacking Japan, because Japan's making the movies.
Yeah.
Like, that's why it's like, at some point, it's like, why does this motherfucker only attack Japan? We got to address the fact that perhaps he would be viewed as a threat to other people.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, also, Japan is becoming a greater economic superpower at this point, in both in the movies and the real world.
Yeah.
So it's like, you know, if you want your Japanese business interests to keep going, you might want to take care of every year a giant monster comes out of the ocean and destroys half a city.
Yeah, America is like somewhere Bill Gates is begging America to ignore Godzilla because Nintendo is taking it. Wait, no, when does Xbox come out? He hasn't invented the Xbox yet. We don't have the console wars yet.
Yeah, I mean, well, we
Right,
have
with Microsoft?
We have Nintendo versus Sega, but
That's Japan.
Yeah, but when did? Oh, yeah, I guess all the major consoles.
That's all
are
the video
Japan
game
at this
consoles
point.
were
Yeah.
Japan. Everybody in America is like, we have to save Japan from Godzilla. We need our fucking video games. I have to play Pokemon. They're like, episodes of Sailor Moon will be delayed if we don't take action.
Oh, yeah, no, if it was like I got a news report that Godzilla is affecting the latest release of Dragon Ball Z, I'd be like, what is our government doing about this?
What is our government doing about this to secure anime exports to America?
So, the Psychic Children Plant Choir. They touched a plant and they resonated with the music inside the plant that was around the giant eggs on the nuclear waste dump island. That's where we're at right now in the summary. Just wanted to give a little recap. So the music...
These stupid movies. I'm so fond of them.
So the music coming from the plant that the psychic children are emanating causes the giant egg to hatch.
Sure.
Instead of a pteranodon, a human-sized reptilian figure comes out instead. That's right, baby. Manila's back. Only this time, he actually looks like a baby dinosaur, and not a pug mixed with dryer lint.
It's a great costume.
It's such a good design.
Like, it's cute. It looks like a baby dinosaur. They don't call him Manila, though. They call him Baby Godzilla.
Yes, the official name for this one is Baby Godzilla.
Thank God, finally, some sense.
Yeah. He's technically a Godzillasaurus because those are actual dinosaurs in this world. Remember,
yes.
As of Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah, Godzilla is canonically a dinosaur that survived dinosaur times and then got irradiated not by the H-bomb tests, but by a random sunken Soviet Union nuclear submarine. So what Godzilla is a Godzillasaurus that's been mutated by nuclear radiation. But this is a baby Godzillasaurus that only got a little radiation as a treat. This is going to become plot important in like 2 movies. I need you to know this.
Okay.
Also, it's very funny that Miki is the one who's like, actually, this one's technically a Godzillasaurus because she personally went back in time to see a Godzillasaurus.
Yeah, she's like, yeah, no, this is a Godzillasaurus. This is not Godzilla's offspring, necessarily.
So, baby Godzilla takes to Gojo as his mother. Professor Ome theorizes whether this egg was placed in the Pteranodon nest as a parasite egg, like cuckoos do, which is yet another comparison to Heisei Godzilla being a bird.
Well, yeah, he's a dinosaur.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Real life science is just about to figure out the connection between dinosaurs and birds, but not quite yet as of 1993, at least from last time I checked.
Wait, no, because that's when Jurassic Park came out.
All right, hang on. Let me double check my facts real quick.
To model the T-Rex run. That's how they figured it out.
Science figure out dinosaurs are birds. Let's see. According to the National History Museum in 1996, the first feathered dinosaur was announced, but there's also some various sources of people theorizing that dinosaurs and birds had a similar ancestry, so not a clean, like, this was the year where science declared that this connection. So I'll retract my previous statements.
Never doubt me about Jurassic Park. The funny thing about my Jurassic Park knowledge is that I don't even know it exists until I say it. like I don't realize how deep the Jurassic Park lore is seeded into my own brain.
Okay, so baby Godzilla looks at researcher Gojo as his mother. This might be like a cuckoo thing, we don't know. But speaking of Heisei Godzilla, Psychic Miki feels that Godzilla is approaching. Uh-oh, gang. And then off-screen, Miki grabs her paycheck. She did her role in the movie.
She did it. She alerted everybody, hey guys, there's a giant dinosaur wreaking havoc. And they're like, yeah, we know. It's hard to miss.
Godzilla starts rampaging through Yakaichi. G-Force launches Mechagodzilla, but without Aoki in his pilot's chair since he's at the lab with baby Godzilla. Mechagodzilla lands in front of Godzilla, and the two duke it out.
They don't have a backup pilot.
They have a backup pilot. They had to grab someone else to get into the pilot's chair.
Oh, okay.
They have a bunch of people in G-Force.
Yeah, I thought so.
Yeah,
okay.
But Aoki was the one who's like specifically trained to be the Mechagodzilla pilot, and they have to grab a backup pilot because Aoki isn't there.
They should keep him on a base or something.
Well,
You'd think that they'd keep better track of this guy.
Well, every time Aoki hears that there might be a pteranodon that comes into existence,
he goes running.
Yeah, he has to break into an institute and take pictures.
This is the military is so lax.
So this version of Mechagodzilla has a Mega Buster Ray from its mouth, synthetic diamond armor to absorb Godzilla's atomic breath, and loads of other missiles, eye lasers, and plasma grenades. Buy our toys.
Buy our toys.
As it beats Godzilla to the ground, it fires electrical cables from its fingers to latch onto Godzilla and cook him.
Oh my god, they tase.
They tase Godzilla.
I realized, yeah, it was a taser. I didn't realize that at the time.
But Godzilla reverses the power discharge through the cables and short-circuits Mechagodzilla instead. Remember the original Mechagodzilla? Remember Godzilla's lightning powers? That's right.
Yeah, Godzilla has electricity powers, as we all know.
Godzilla gets back up, knocks Mechagodzilla to the ground, and continues on his rampage. Our heroes take baby Godzilla into a secure basement within the Institute. Godzilla reaches the Institute, and everyone holds their breath as he roars. But after destroying the top half of the building in frustration, Godzilla leaves, unable to find baby Godzilla. G-Force takes baby Godzilla, putting him under Gojo's care and studying him. Through their study, they find out that Godzillosauruses have two brains, one in their head and one at the base of their spine. Maybe, if they can short-circuit Godzilla's spine brain, they may finally be able to defeat him. Aoki is demoted from the Mechagodzilla team because he wasn't there when Mechagodzilla needed to fight Godzilla, and is assigned to work the G-Force parking garage.
That is hilarious. What an insane demotion. I have multiple questions. So I assume Aoki did not request shore leave, as it were? He didn't go through the proper channels? Was he ditching? Does he have a cell phone so that he can be called in? Like, what are the proper procedures? Clearly, Aoki broke them.
Mm-hmm.
I would have preferred to have them explained a bit more, other than, like, you weren't there when a random disaster that we have... No, it's not like they're like, oh, Godzilla... It's not like it's a hurricane, where it's like you can see it coming about a week out or so, and they're like, it's gonna make landfall, you need to be ready. It's an earthquake. You weren't in the earthquake fighting machine when the earthquake happened, even though it's like we get seconds of warning before earthquakes happen, if we're lucky with the seismometer, but it's like that doesn't go out to... I get the notifications about earthquakes after they happen.
Well, and also remember Biollante where they had like a 4-stage Godzilla alarm system, and then the first
Where is
stage,
that?
like their first stage was like our psychics get a hunch that Godzilla might be back. Like, I feel
Were they on alert and he ignored this to chase pteranodons?
We certainly didn't see that.
No.
Also,
I would just
also demoting a trained pilot to parking
the
garage
parking
attendant.
garage. How many people did you train to do Mechagodzilla stuff? Like, it just... if you're going to have an organizational structure built to take on Godzilla that all of our main characters are involved in, I would like just a modicum of world building, please. I would just like to understand, you have to inform the audience about what's going on. Or we're like, wait, what? Like, how was Aoki supposed to know that Godzilla was attacking? Like... It's not his fault he wasn't on base when this happened to happen. And now it's not consequences of his action. The characters don't have agency. It's fine.
It's
fine.
My headcanon is...
It's fine because Godzilla's cute. Baby Godzilla's cute, so it's fine.
My headcanon is that it was like a military, like someone needs to take the fall kind of thing. Because after Mechagodzilla gets beaten up by Godzilla, we cut over to the military control room and there's just a bunch of like top level brass who are like super angry and just like looking at each other. Like you can kind of feel the whole, well, that's millions of dollars down the drain.
But
or yen.
Yeah. Well, the UN. Did the UN fund it?
Oh, the UN funded it. That's right. So it's probably dollars.
It's probably American dollars because that seems to be what everybody fucking uses. Who knows how long that'll go.
You do also know that this is a UN funded endeavor because you have like a smattering of white people talking in English, and that's how you know it's international. Yeah.
Why is the English always so stilted?
It's because they're working with what they got.
I know. It's funny because now I don't know. I suppose I would imagine that they've flown in American actors before. Glenn, my beloved.
Glenn.
But it's always so funky how they don't have, and I don't know, if you speak another language and you deal with Americans sounding shitty in other languages all the time, please let me know. I don't know though, because like, I wonder how often that happens. My sample size obviously is skewed very much towards Godzilla movies when it comes to foreign films at this point. Not that I don't watch foreign films, but at this point I've watched 22 Godzilla movies. So a large chunk of the foreign films I've seen have been Godzilla movies.
20 Godzilla movies, a re-edit, and a cartoon.
Yeah, okay, whatever. It's not exactly 22 Godzilla movies. It's a large amount of Godzilla movies covering my foreign film library.
Just like by the numbers.
Yeah, but America has a lot of immigrants, like a lot of people from other countries come here, and Japan is notoriously pretty xenophobic and has a really strict immigration policy. So that I wonder if American films do slightly better at getting native speakers in other languages when they do it, or if Hollywood is ignorant and they're like, nobody will know and it's all shitty. Yeah, like
perhaps
because I don't know. I speak English, so it's like I don't know. I'm like, yeah, sure, that sounds good to me when I hear other things, and I only notice it when it's English. So I would love to see examples and learn more about this. If anybody has any idea, get in the comments.
So Aoki got demoted to parking garage attendant. He's not happy, so he corners one of the lead scientists behind Mechagodzilla, and he pitches a plan to upgrade the Garuda warjet and essentially make it a big jetpack for Mechagodzilla. The scientist loves the idea and re-promotes Aoki to the Mechagodzilla team.
This is exactly like this is the shit I'm talking about though. It's exactly like Aoki stealing the plant accidentally, calling and being like, I have the plant, by the way. Oh my god, bring that back immediately. No, that's okay. Aoki, you're being punished for something that is maybe not even your fault by being a parking garage attendant. Hey, I have an idea about a jetpack. Okay, Aoki, you're back on the Mechagodzilla team. Like, immediately.
I wonder if this organizational dysfunction is leading to them not being an effective threat against Godzilla.
Oh, it's a feature, not a bug. I see.
And guess what? And later on, we'll see a whole movie about how bureaucratic dysfunction leads to being completely unable to deal with Godzilla. Cannot wait till we get to the Shin Godzilla episode.
Wow. That's definitely not going to give me any sort of PTSD about recent world events.
So Aoki visits Gojo at the Baby Godzilla facility and reveals a small flying machine called the Pteranodon Robot, which functions like a green goblin glider you can sit in. There's no explanation, by the way, for how he's related to this little glider flying thing. No explanation for why he's able to take it from wherever it is and then bring it over to the Baby Godzilla facility. At this point, I assume he stole it.
Yeah. Accidentally, of course.
Yeah, of course. The two share a moment flying through the facility as Baby Godzilla watches. Aww. Psychic Miki also comes along, bringing the psychic students to meet baby Godzilla.
2 paychecks. Miki gets 2 paychecks this time.
I should note it's just the psychic girls, which leaves me wondering why the psychic boys also couldn't come along to see the dinosaur.
I'll tell you why. It's because the boy actors were fucking around and the directors got sick of it and they're like, these assholes won't behave. Get them out of here. We're just doing the psychic girls. And this is from, I say this from the famous story from the X-Files set. They had kids play the aliens because kids are small and the aliens are small. And the directors were like, the boys were constantly just like fucking around and trying to like mess up the costumes and not paying attention. And the girls got in character and were really creepy and really committed to it. So I think that's what happened. I just think the psychic boy children were probably misbehaving too much. And they're like, fuck this shit. We don't want to. Because you have to, I mean, I don't know what Japan's child actor labor laws are, but maybe they're like, just get them out of here. Fuck it. We write them, cut them the check, go. We have a limited amount of film. Let's go.
There's also largely a maternal theme going through this movie as well.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Because not only do you have the researcher Gojo becoming the assigned mom for baby Godzilla, you also have Godzilla trying to find baby Godzilla, a la Son of Godzilla. And, you bring the psychic girls over to see the baby. Because why would the boys be interested in the baby?
Which is in contrast to the one film where the boy imagined Minilla to prevent himself from feeling sad about being bullied.
Yeah, I think I should also...
Could be cultural shifts happening.
I think I should also note that Miki starts this movie wearing her, army-looking G-Force uniform, and then as she starts feeling more maternal over baby Godzilla, she starts wearing more feminine clothes.
Fascinating.
Yeah. By the end of the movie, she's wearing, a green blazer and earrings while everyone else is still wearing their, military uniforms in these meetings to discuss how to shoot Godzilla in the ass. And it's at the point where she's wearing the more feminine clothes. She's like, I don't know, seeing baby Godzilla is making me rethink about just killing Godzilla.
About just attacking this animal. To be fair, Godzilla is destroying who knows how many lives, because once again, we're not really focusing on the human collateral damage here. We're just building collapses. Were there people inside? Who's to say?
What's to know?
It's the what's the term? Bloodless destruction or something. Mm-hmm. That a lot of superhero movies do. And yeah, it's a very popular thing in blockbusters, obviously, to do a lot of bloodless destruction.
We're moving farther away from the beginning of the Heisei era, where Godzilla stomps on people and throws trains full of people onto the ground.
I want him tossing trains again. Let's go.
Yeah. So the psychic girls sing their plant song from earlier, which both enrages baby Godzilla and also, for some reason, supercharges Rodan hundreds of miles away into Fire Rodan.
Sure.
Time for Operation G Crusher. G-Force is going to use baby Godzilla as bait to lure Godzilla to a nearby island. Then they'll use Mechagodzilla to destroy his second brain. Psychic Girl Miki will also be in Mechagodzilla to help them aim at the second brain. However, Miki doesn't like using baby Godzilla as bait and begins to rethink her entire career as psychic weapon pointed at Godzilla. On the way to a remote island, Fire Rodan appears and attacks the helicopter carrying baby Godzilla. Looks like Operation G Crusher is going to happen in the middle of the city. This is going to look so cool.
Oh no.
Mechagodzilla and Garuda both launch to fight Fire Rodan. Thanks to being supercharged by Psychic Children's Song, Rodan now has his own uranium heat breath. Rodan takes down the Garuda warjet and then turns to fight Mechagodzilla. Rodan pecks out Mechagodzilla's right eye, but once again, Rodan forgets he's an outboxer and he takes a plasma grenade directly to the chest and falls to the ground bleeding heavily.
Yeah, but this is a This isn't Godzilla, this is Mechagodzilla. Maybe Mechagodzilla is worse at fighting.
Yeah.
Even though he looks exactly like Godzilla. And seems to have all of the same powers as Godzilla, plus maybe other things.
Yeah. Rodan is like, oh, he wouldn't attack my exposed underbelly while I'm on his chest pecking at his eyes. This will surely work.
Rodan is still concussed. And doesn't know what a grenade is.
Rodan gets a new ranged ability and still can't help himself from getting right into the action.
Poor Rodan.
I'm not saying poor Rodan. Rodan did this to himself at this point.
Yeah.
The day isn't saved just yet, for now Godzilla has entered the fight. In a callback to the original Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla, which this movie is not a sequel to, Godzilla fires his atomic breath, and Mechagodzilla fires its Mega Buster Ray, and the two beams clash before exploding. Awesome. Godzilla then picks up Mechagodzilla, throws it to the ground, and starts whacking the giant robot with his tail. But wait, Aoki has fixed the Garuda, and now he's back in the fight. Aoki strafes around Godzilla and fires lasers at the kaiju. Mechagodzilla launches itself into Godzilla and tackles him. Then, the Garuda jet latches onto Mechagodzilla's back, forming Super Mechagodzilla. Buy our toys.
Garuda Jet and Mechagodzilla sold separately.
Super Mechagod... I love that name. Super Mechagodzilla can now fly through the air, and it unleashes its entire arsenal on Godzilla. As Godzilla falls to the ground, G-Force fires their electrical cables into Godzilla's second brain and sends massive amounts of energy to cripple him. Is this it? Has Japan finally defeated Godzilla? Hell no! Baby Godzilla is mad as hell that Godzilla is getting beaten up. And hearing baby Godzilla's cries is none other than the severely beaten Rodan. Rodan musters up his remaining strength to fly over to Godzilla and then dissolves into dust to transfer his remaining life force to Godzilla. As red and blue lightning crackles across the sky, Godzilla stands back up, supercharged off Pteranodon energy.
I have no words.
Fun fact, this same scene is going to happen in one of the MonsterVerse movies, and it's going to make a lot more sense when it does.
Good! I'm not opposed to that as a concept, but it's just like, it's this whole movie reads as two 7-year-olds playing pretend and just coming up with the magic powers and the plot lines like on the spot, which is like, I mean, I'm sure that the children love this, but I'm going insane because what do you mean they can do that? Like, and that's fine that they can do that. And it's not like I need everything spoon fed to me by a movie. Ugh, I hate that. There's too many movies and TV shows now that are spoon feeding every little thing to every person because they're like, nobody's paying attention to the movie anymore. They're watching the movie and they're on their phone and they're on TikTok and blah, blah, blah. If you're gonna watch a movie, just pay attention to the fucking movie. But what is this? What is this? I don't understand. Like, it'll look good, but then it's like that shit like this happens.
The official explanation, at least the ones I've seen off like Wikizilla and other plot summaries of this movie, is that Rodan sees baby Godzilla as a sort of adopted half-brother or something like that, because they're in the same nest. But also, the sacrifice is kind of muddied because Godzilla did curb stomp Rodan earlier in this movie.
I shouldn't need supplementary Wikipedia material to justify the motivations of a major character in the film.
No, we need the twin fairies to stand on a nearby cliff and psychically say what Rodan is thinking.
That's better than this!
Oh, by the way, real quick, the twin actors that played the Cosmos in the previous movie, Godzilla vs. Mothra, they appear in this movie as well in a cameo. They're like twin attendants at the Psychic Institute. They're like regular sized people. They're not the Cosmos, but they do a little cameo and they say things at the same time. And it's like, haha, it's the actresses that played the twin fairies in the previous movie. How fun.
Of which this is not a sequel.
Yeah, of which is Well, actually, no. This is a sequel
Well,
to
actually,
Godzilla
no, it is a
versus
sequel.
Mothra.
Yeah, it is in the continuity. Never mind, my bad.
Yeah. So, round 3. Godzilla lets off a nuclear pulse, melting Super Mechagodzilla's diamond armor. His atomic breath is now a beam of red lightning that absolutely wrecks shop. Super Mechagodzilla can't withstand Godzilla's newfound might, and soon Godzilla lights the entire robot on fire. The Mechagodzilla crew climb out of their destroyed superweapon. Aoki flies over to Gojo and using the Pteranodon robot. I realized in my writing of this summary that wasn't clear. Aoki didn't gain the power of flight. He had that's why we set up the Pteranodon jetpack glider thing earlier. So he flies over to Gojo and the baby Godzilla. But as
we set that up.
Yeah, we set that up.
We'll set up the fucking Pteranodon robot, kind of. But we won't set up Rodon's life transference capability. It's fine.
But as they all evacuate by helicopter, Gojo gives a final goodbye to baby Godzilla and tells him to go home. Godzilla arrives and sees baby Godzilla. Baby Godzilla is, of course, frightened by Godzilla's roar. But as Miki, psychic girl Miki, stands atop Mechagodzilla's head, she projects a psychic message to both Godzilla and baby Godzilla to live together. And so, Godzilla and baby Godzilla walk together out to sea. Will there be a dinosaur age after the age of man has ended? Unclear. But what is clear is that, quote, reptiles or humankind, we all fight to protect our offspring, end quote.
Mama rattlesnakes abandon their children immediately after they are hatched. Also, has Miki been capable of projecting psychic messages to Godzilla this entire time? And
to be fair, the last time she psychically connected to Godzilla was in Godzilla vs. Biollante, and it almost killed her. So she's just kind of been existing as a Godzilla radar for the 2 movies after that. And this is the one where she's like, okay, hang on, maybe I can make this a 2-way street here. Maybe I can send him a message.
And it's
like,
totally
hey.
fine.
Yeah, totally fine.
No physical exertion or danger on her part. Where's the government entities that are like, I don't care if it's going to kill you, Miki. That's a risk we're willing to take.
Well, that was the whole scene where they're talking about, like, they don't even ask Miki, hey, do you want to be in the Mechagodzilla robot? You know, she's part of the military drafted at this point, so they're like, hey, you're getting in the robot.
Yeah, so why don't they risk her trying to psychic beam, instead of risking her life in the mech, make her psychic beam messages at Godzilla to go away or something, or explain the situation.
Well, they didn't know that she could do that. Maybe Miki is hiding that on purpose, so the government doesn't order her to try to mind control Godzilla again.
Would be fun if this was something that was canonical.
Well, we will get something in the next movie where they'll try something different to try to, amp up Miki's psychic control over Godzilla. So, like, this movie, she reveals that she can project messages into Godzilla's head. And sure enough, the next movie, they're like, hey, Miki, we're going to try to do that again. Hope you're fine with it.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Because I would like some actual cause and effect and consequences, which we seem to be running light on. I feel like such a hater this time. I don't know what it is. I feel like, and I'm not really. I don't hate this movie. I don't have as much animosity towards it as I have towards, say, Son of Godzilla or the Nationalist one that we just watched. I think my problem with this movie is that I feel like there's a really good movie in it, and we went in on the first draft instead of going through development and doing some rewrites and actually getting it to a point where it's stronger, because there's so many of these little, like, well, wait a minute, what about blah, 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 and why would blah, 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 and et cetera, like, throughout the entire thing, the entire time, we're like, wait, what? And I don't think a good movie should be full of that kind of, wait, what?
Mm-hmm.
I
do think also, this might be a weird criticism, I think Mechagodzilla was even stiffer in this film than he was in the Showa movies. Like, and I get, he's a giant
the effect
robot.
Wasn't as good.
He's supposed to be a bit stiff, but he felt like very much action figure like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there was, I don't know, there was a lack of pizzazz happening.
Yeah, no, here's my main issue with this film. The military soldiers that are piloting a giant dinosaur robot to fight a giant radioactive dinosaur sounds so bored. I don't need them to go full Power Ranger. Like, I don't need them to be like, Mega Buster Ray, fire! But like, when you're firing your Mega Buster Ray, don't be like, all right, engage Mega Buster Ray. Click.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, how many movies have we seen featuring fighter pilots or whatever, where the fighter pilots are jazzed to be there doing their super cool job of flying at a bajillion dollars, or they are flying at a bajillion dollars an hour, actually. That fuel costs a lot of money. They're flying at a bajillion miles an hour, blowing shit up for the United States government. Like, they're so excited to be doing this thing. They went through all of this training to do it. They love flying, etc., etc. We have 2 Tom Cruise movies about this. At least 2 Tom Cruise movies about this, if not more.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't seen all of the Mission Impossibles, but
That's
he's
our next
also
podcast.
thrilled to be doing shit. He's thrilled to be doing shit in the Mission Impossible movies. I've seen some Mission Impossible movies, just not every single one.
I saw the one where Henry Cavill reloads his fists, and I think that's cinematic perfection.
Hot. All of that to say is, it felt really stiff, and I don't know, maybe this is a cultural thing potentially, and it's not translating to us Americans who are used to rah like fuck 'em up kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
In our fighter pilots, because these guys are essentially fighter pilots.
Yeah.
I mean, even when it's, Star Wars or whatever, which is an American made film, but they're not. It takes place in a second world fantasy situation. They're flying for the Galactic Empire. They seem jazzed then. Anakin's only happy when he's in a fighter pilot, like, or when he's flying. Like, that's the only time this poor child ever has peace, is when he's like flying. And yes, it's a stressful situation. Godzilla is. But also, I guess that's the other thing too, is it's like they're so. I mean, you'd think that they're flying to Ohio on a commercial jet with the level of enthusiasm. It's not even that. It's like they're holding to. Yeah, and yes, of course, fighter pilots are trained to be cool under pressure. Regular pilots are trained to be cool under pressure, and can be very deadpan when saying stuff like, "We've just lost an engine, we're going down." And they do this because they have to communicate clearly over the radio to the tower and whatnot. But the acting around all of that is also not supporting that this is a dangerous life or death. Even when they go down and the computer's like, everybody is dead, Mechagodzilla down, everybody is dead. The guy's like, not everybody's fine. Like, it's just, it just seems so, like, it's so unenthusiastic. Like, over and over again, there's so many things happening in this movie where it's a little convoluted for no particular reason, because the consequences don't have that, like, the consies are not quenching. They're not. They're not. It doesn't matter that Aoki got demoted, because he's immediately undemoted in the next scene that he's in.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, and then we also lack a certain je ne sais quoi, a certain pizzazz, a certain passion in so much of the film, that it does feel a little bit like a soulless toy commercial instead of being a very fun toy commercial. And that's not, like, the fights are cool. The fights are still cool, but it felt like it was not grabbing me. And there's been other Godzilla movies where I'm like, this doesn't make a lick of sense, but I'm having a lot of fun. And this one, I think I was just kind of distracted a lot.
It's also interesting because we had another character that would have been perfect for Aoki's role. And that was the young Lieutenant Sho Kuroki. And I believe... Yes. Because he was in Godzilla vs. Biollante.
I love him.
His whole character was, even though I am young, I have been promoted to lead the pilot effort against Godzilla. He was the one that was leading the Super X2
Yeah.
effort against Godzilla, and we're already bringing back Miki. Why don't we bring back Sho Kuroki? And it's like, okay, I have failed in my previous efforts to fight Godzilla with the Super X2, but I am also the obvious choice to lead the piloting effort with Mechagodzilla and Garuda against Godzilla. This is my own redemption. But instead we get an entirely unserious character leading the charge.
Yes, he doesn't even care about Godzilla. He only cares about pteranodons. Like, it's just, why? Why are you making these choices?
And it's maddening because Sho comes back. Sho comes back in Godzilla vs. Destoroyah. So it was an option. God.
It's just like that's the problem. It was a very frustrating movie because you can see the better movie in there, and it didn't do it, which, you know, upsetting that the Godzilla fan finally wrote the Godzilla movie and it was not perfect. Not that anybody could ever make a perfect Godzilla. Like, you can never please all corners of fandom. Yeah, I just kept bumping against this movie over and over and over again. And I did not want to. I was excited. I was like, oh, cool. I love mechs. I love that we have like a mech pilot program happening. Love that these mech pilots don't give a shit about fighting Godzilla, apparently, and being in this mech and about each other or anything. Like, we could have had, like, the mech pilots aren't even why couldn't we have gotten a scene if Aoki really abandoned them? Like, if Aoki was truly shirking his duties for pteranodon related activities and baby Godzilla and fucking around, why are his teammates not upset that
there's
he
no camaraderie.
left them or something? There's no camaraderie. It's just lacking in so much depth that it could have. It could have all of this depth. You could have a good movie, and it's not. And it's like they chose over and over again not to do that.
I was re-listening to our original Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla episode, and one of the things we butted up against with that movie was that it was about nothing. And I think this movie, like, it has themes. We have themes of motherhood on both the human side and the Godzilla side. There's actually sort of an industry rumor that they made the Godzilla suit in this movie a little bit, like, thicker in the hips to give Godzilla a more maternal look. But that isn't 100% confirmed. We do focus on Godzilla's hips a lot with the second brain thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like you have themes of motherhood. They try to do a thing of organic life versus artificial life, but it doesn't really work.
Except that doesn't really work because there's no actual AI. It's just a robot being piloted by people.
Yeah, it's essentially just a big jet in the shape of a dinosaur. And, you know, they do something with, like, fighting to protect our offspring and all this different stuff. It is interesting also, speaking of the writer, Wataru Mimura, because at this point in the Heisei Godzilla era, Godzilla is still a villain, but he also has kind of taken the same sort of heel position that, like, The Rock and Stone Cold Steve Austin took, where it's like, at least early in their careers, where it's like, they're the bad guys, but also everyone's rooting for them.
They're anti-hero.
Wataru actually wrote, in an interview, Wataru said, quote, "It's not really a fight between the bad guys and good guys. Both sides are fighting for good. They're both trying to defend their own lives. The theme was written so that the viewer will empathize with the creatures, so I think it's okay for Mechagodzilla to play the villain." And I think that's another, like, sort of weird perspective on this movie as well.
Yeah, because Mechagodzilla is full of the people that are trying to defend Japan from getting curb stomped.
Yeah.
Like, that's it's weird to say there's no good guys versus bad guys. This is a fight for survival, and then say Mechagodzilla is the villains. Mechagodzilla doesn't have a brain. Mechagodzilla is a machine being piloted by the humans in defense of Japan against Godzilla. What?
Yeah. And it's like the previous movies, Godzilla has been defeated by flukes. Godzilla versus King Ghidorah, there was a cyborg dragon that came from the future. Godzilla versus Mothra and Batra had to team up, and even then Batra died, and now Mothra's out in deep space, so they don't have the Mothra button anymore.
Yeah.
And then, you know, the Godzilla versus Biollante, there was coincidentally, a giant Godzilla ghost girl plant monster that temporarily incapacitated Godzilla. Like, this is a desperate fight for survival when it comes to Godzilla. Of course the United Nations is coming together. But that's the thing. It's like, because this is the Godzilla movie, you're here to see Godzilla. You kind of have this narrative obstacle you're trying to ride around.
That's why Godzilla is supposed to be a metaphor.
Mm-hmm.
That's why Godzilla works best when Godzilla is acting just fully as a metaphor. Like the original film, or Godzilla -1.
Yeah. Well, and in this one, Godzilla is metaphor for mother, but it gets muddied up by everything else.
Yeah.
I will say, speaking of the narrative obstacle of writing a Godzilla movie, the director, Takeo Okawara, wanted to kill Godzilla in this movie.
Good luck.
According to an interview in Cult Movies number 11, I feel what makes Godzilla, the original movie, the 1954 movie, so powerful is the fact that Godzilla is killed at the end of the film. Because of this, I wanted to kill Godzilla. However, Toho would not permit it. End quote.
I feel like you're missing the point a little bit.
He's missing the point just a little bit.
To say that the original Godzilla film is powerful because they killed Godzilla. Again, the franchise doesn't exist yet. Godzilla 1954 is just Godzilla 1954. There's no franchise, there's no pop culture idea of Godzilla, none of that. So you want to it's like when they killed Superman for the shock of killing Superman. That's what he wants to do. That's why he wants to kill Godzilla. And he's saying, well, the first film was so powerful because they killed Godzilla. No, the first film was powerful because it was a really good movie that had a lot to say. This movie doesn't really know what it's trying to say, / is half-assing what it's trying to say.
Also, what else was going on around the scene of Godzilla dying? As I said in previous episodes, we haven't had a Serizawa moment yet. They're all chasing the high of that Serizawa moment, and I don't think any of them know that they're chasing that.
Yeah.
Except for the Godzilla Raids Again people, where they were like, oh, a heroic sacrifice is going to be cool. It's like, no, it has to tie into it. It has to make sense. You have to earn it.
Yeah, they don't. Even Rodan did a heroic sacrifice, kind of. I mean, Rodan was already dying, but that still didn't make any sense, because it didn't make a lot of sense on why Rodan was helping the guy that killed him.
Yeah.
that tried to kill, like, it was all muddy. It was so muddy and confusing, and people are missing the point. And no wonder if this is what the director thinks of the original Godzilla movie, if that's his literary analysis of it, no wonder this one's all fucked. Like, if that's what the writer and director have to say about Godzilla, no wonder they fucked it up and made a muddy film, because they don't actually understand Godzilla. Because they don't have good media analysis or whatever. I don't know.
Kayla's throwing down the fucking gauntlet. She should have been there.
Yeah, I should have been there. Here's the thing about watching 20 Godzilla movies is eventually you begin to form really, really strong opinions about Godzilla.
Hell yeah.
Against
Hell
your
yeah.
will.
That's what this podcast is about, baby.
I will become one of the world's foremost Godzilla experts by sheer exposure. Oh my god.
Anything else you want to talk about, or you want to get into the ratings?
Yeah, I don't know, 2.5.
2.5?
I was originally going to go with 3, but again, as happens, like, I'll watch the movie and I kind of have like a knee-jerk reaction, and then you think about it and we go over it and it's like, actually, this movie is more frustrating than I thought it was, which is why discussion is always so important. It's so important to dissect and investigate what you are reading or watching, because it really does help you actually form more coherent opinions and analysis of it. You know, some people call this being a killjoy. Other people call this being a scholar. And we are Godzilla scholars, damn it.
I will also give this movie a 2.5. I found it weird that I was having a more fun time with the events of this movie while writing up the summary. And it's because I wasn't dealing with the minor details that kept hitting against my enjoyment, like the lack of enthusiasm from the pilots and how some of these scenes just kind of plod along. and also writing the phrase plant-based psychic children choir is just a lot of fun.
Love that. It gives big, listen, one of my guilty pleasure movies, which guilty pleasure is so silly. What are you, Catholic? One of my guilty pleasure movies is Jupiter Ascending. Is Jupiter Ascending coherent? Some would disagree. Some would say no.
I saw Jupiter Ascending. I didn't like it that much. And then someone described it to me as The Matrix for girls. And I'm like, oh, okay, I understand now.
I saw that movie in theaters and I walked out and I was like, that slapped. That's, if you gave 12-year-old me $150 million and said, go buck wild, that's exactly what I would have done. So I understand that there are people out there that probably feel the same way about a lot of Godzilla movies that I'm ragging on, as I do about Jupiter Ascending, in that it is perfect, no notes. So, grain of salt, like there's, bearing my soul in that regard. And I don't know where I was going with this.
Mm-hmm.
I was just thinking, the psychic children, the plant psychic children song thing. It gives big Bees Consents royalty energy.
Oh, yeah.
I'm just like, okay, sure. And that's the thing is, I guess that's the difference for me between Jupiter Ascending and this film, is that I still had a lot of fun watching Jupiter Ascending, and I did feel like there were emotional through lines happening, whereas I felt a lack of emotional through lines in this film, and I didn't have as much fun watching it. So that does really affect one's enjoyment. You can really have, if there's a lot of passion, I really feel like the Wachowskis had a lot of fun, and a lot of people had a lot of fun and put a lot of passion into Jupiter Ascending, and that's why, even though, is it a good movie? Not necessarily. Do a lot of people like it? Yeah. I feel like there was that we discussed this, lack of enthusiasm. It felt like there was kind of a lack of enthusiasm happening in this movie. They had to churn out another one.
I think back to how I rated Godzilla vs. Ghidorah as a 3 out of 5, and it wasn't because it was a neutral movie that worked, but because it was an incredibly flawed movie that also had a bunch of weird stuff in it and a bunch of experimental swings that it made it interesting. So it was in two completely opposite directions that then balanced it out. And I think this movie that had some weird stuff, but not enough to justify the flaws. So that's why I'm giving this one a 2.5. I would recommend Godzilla vs. Ghidorah over Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla II.
100%. 100%. Yeah. I totally agree with you. I appreciate huge swings. I appreciate that kind of commitment. And I felt like there was just not that sort of commitment. It felt scared. This movie, it kind of felt like they were a little bit scared at times.
Well, we're in that yearly release schedule, so budgets are a bit more constrained. Some of their greater ideas kind of have to be held back. That's what happens when you need to release a Godzilla every Christmas.
Yeah, it's a shame.
Well, speaking of, next year we're going to get another Godzilla. Kayla,
oh boy,
what's that Godzilla? Come on, say that title. Come
on and slam, and welcome to the... Next, we'll be watching Godzilla vs. Space Godzilla, 1994. Please note, Space Godzilla does not have a space in between space and Godzilla. Space Godzilla is one word. Be sure to watch the Japanese version, not the English dub. If you liked this podcast, be sure to subscribe, give us a rating, leave a comment, and share with a friend. Follow us on social media. We got the links in the show notes. We also have a Ko-fi. You can support us there and get access to cool bonus content like extra episodes and access to the private Discord, where you can talk with other geeks about Godzilla and all things Digital Kaiju. Check it out. Gorilla Whale is a production of Digital Kaiju Studios. It is hosted and produced by Kevin Carpenter and Kayla Knudsen. Gorilla Whale has no official affiliation with Toho, Legendary, or any other companies associated with the Godzilla franchise. We thank you for watching along with us. Until next time, watch out for psychics and watch out for kaiju.
Watch out for kaiju.